Part 133. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1321. Chapter 1321. Guchensi confesses the truth about that year. On the way to the appointment, some fragments flashed through Gongqinli's mind, and she finally remembered the past intermittently. This is where she decided to leave. She didn't have a good impression of this place. Some things made Nangang Luo mistakenly think that she liked Guchensi. If she wanted to find out the reason carefully, she couldn't remember it, because her impression at that time could be described in 2 words. Description: regret. I also blame myself. I didn't know what I was arguing about at the beginning, and I was always unwilling to explain clearly what I had in mind. I want to leave it to the other party to guess and treat it as a test, but in the end I misunderstand myself. Fortunately, they woke up early, or they were lucky, and it's not too late to change now. Gongqinli went there, and it was rare to see Drgu, who never arrives early for appointments, sitting in advance and waiting. Zhenju Gongqinli's observation ability when handling cases in the past, and from the water cup and other traces left by Guchensi, it can be deduced that he arrived here at least half an hour in advance. Gongqinli couldn't figure it out. She guessed that Guchensi was the kind of person who was too arrogant. When others like him, he doesn't pay much attention to him. When others don't pay attention to him, he likes him instead. Arrogance is a disease and must be cured. After Gongqinli arrived, Guchensi looked at her calmly and said one word with as much preciousness as gold: sit down. Gongqinli was quite serious at first, but looking at the moral character of the man in front of her, it was as if her ex would not pay back the money. Ahem, Drgu, hello at noon, what do you want to eat or drink? Need not. Guchensi refused lightly and said nothing more. Gongqinli couldn't hold it any longer and directly tapped the table with the back of her fingers to attract Guchensi's attention. Guchensi, if you have something to say, just say it and don't nag me. Can't you, a man like you, be more straightforward? If she hadn't seen Guchensi's face getting darker and darker, she might have compared him to a shy girl. Gongqinli is still the same Gongqinli as before, with a straightforward and unobtrusive personality. Guchensi calmly took a sip of tea and finally got to the main topic of the day. Seeing Guchensi's expression full of meaning, Gongqinli always felt that there was a big secret hidden in it. In order to appease her soul, she also lowered her head and held a cup to drink water. You missed Nangang Luo in the first place because I was in the way. Guchensi suddenly revealed that he had done something terrible, and Gongqinli almost burst into tears at that time. Ahem. She pressed her fingers slightly against her throat and poured another sip of water into her mouth to smoothen the breath. What do you mean by what you just said? Just telling the truth. Guchensi raised the corner of his mouth slightly, then relaxed the curve in just a moment. Gongqinli felt that the amount of information in this sentence was a bit large, and she seemed to be unable to turn her head around. According to Guchensi, he was the one who deliberately caused the destruction in the first place, including what happened next. But Guchensi and Nangang Luo were also brothers back then. Gongqinli enjoyed this lunch without food, because she got a lot of valuable information from it. Especially things related to Zhonyun. After separating from Guchensi, Gongqinli had many worries. When mentioning Zhonyun, Fangyu will naturally come to mind. The Fangyu who treated her kindly from the first day she entered the police station, the Fangyu who died heroically for justice. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1322. Chapter 1322. Is Zhonyun really in love with someone else? Zhonyun is Fangyu's girlfriend. They really loved each other at the beginning and even gave birth to a daughter Nangongyu together. Oh no, it is now called Zhonyu. She had reason to believe that Zhonyun had the idea to pretend to be husband and wife with Nangang Luo in order to protect her daughter from harm at first, But what happened later? Did Zhou Yun really fall in love with Nangang Luo later? Dong dong dong. Gong Qinli knocked on the door. About half a minute later, she heard footsteps at the door. The door was suddenly opened, and Gong Qinli and Zhou Yun were face to face, looking directly into each other's eyes. "Is it you?" Zhou Yun was surprised by Gong Qinli's appearance. Gong Qinli nodded, as if to prove her identity, and replied with two words, "It's me." Zhou Yun stood at the door and did not invite her in. Of course Gong Qinli doesn't care about this, because she didn't come here just to chat with anyone. "I just have a few questions. As long as you answer them well, I won't trouble you." "Miss Gong, your tone is too loud." "Duh? Zhou Yun, you should be very clear about the status and situation of the two of us now. Not to mention that I have a clear conscience. Even if I deliberately cause trouble for you, you have to suffer, right? After all, he was born and raised in a businessman's family. As a child, even if she does not take over the family business, some of the abilities she has learned should not be underestimated. Those are real talents that can be put to use at critical moments." Zhou Yun is now a mute eating Coptus chinensis and can't express the pain. She lowered her hand across the door, took 2 steps back, took out a pair of clean indoor shoes from the shoe cabinet and said to Gong Qinli, "Come in." This is an invitation for her to come in, sit down and talk slowly. Gong Qinli certainly has no objection. It is more convenient to talk at home. "Zhou Yun, I have a few questions that need to be answered. My ability is very limited, and I should be powerless to deal with Miss Zhong's doubts." "No, you can, and only you can." Gong Qinli's serious look makes people feel confident. "When you and Fang Yu got along, you loved each other, right?" When mentioning the name buried in the past memories, it was suddenly brought up, and Zhou Yun's face was dark and unclear. Gong Qinli first took a deep breath and said, "You took your daughter to marry someone else when Fang Yu's body was still cold. Don't you feel that this behavior is a bit sorry for your boyfriend? Only we know what happens between me and Fang Yu. As for the rest, Miss Gong doesn't need to interfere. It's really inconvenient for me to ask more about your Fang Yu's relationship, but I want to ask you, since you are sincere towards Fang Yu, what kind of mentality have you had towards Nangang Luo in the past 4 years? This question is to the point, and everyone knows what to say." Zhou Yun lowered her head and was silent for a while, then suddenly laughed softly, and the sound from her throat changed from a muffled sound to a wild laugh. "You want to ask me why I went to Nangang Luo in the first place? Do you think Fang Yu died saving Nangang Luo, so you approached Nangang Luo to make him atone for his sins?" "Yes and no. Reason? Now that things have come to this, I will tell you the truth. Back then, I knew that you and Fang Yu were good friends, and I even knew that the person Nangang Luo liked was you. And you? You guessed it right, I came to Nangang Luo on purpose." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1323. Chapter 1323, Ending of Luo Li, Part 1. You guessed it right, I deliberately found Nangang Luo. The reason is indeed for the sake of the child. However, this is not the most important thing. You were on a mission together, but only Fang Yu died. Don't you like Nangang Luo? Why weren't you the one who took the bullet for him in the first place? The person I love is dead, how can you two be happy with peace of mind? I thought at the time, this is all so unfair, I have to make things fair. I'm sad, but you can't be happy, right? Gong Qinli's question was like a key to Zhou Yun's heart. But her heart was not calm and soft, but crazy. You are so crazy. Gong Qinli had imagined many possibilities, but they all speculated on Zhonyun's difficulties or that she fell in love with Nangang Luo, but she did not expect that this matter was a mistake from the beginning. The wrong thing lasted for 4 whole years. This is too scary. She had heard people in Nangang Villa say before that Zhonyun left a good impression on people, but everyone only saw her fake face rather than her true nature. A woman has maintained a false appearance for 4 years. This kind of person is so terrible. Fortunately, Nangang Luo still insisted on being devoted to Gongqin Li. If it were anyone else, he might have betrayed the love in his heart unsteadily. Gongqin Li asked, "Have you been wearing a mask these past 4 years just to separate me from Nangang Luo? Are you satisfied then?" Zhonyun sneered and asked instead, "Don't you think the position of the young lady of the Nangang family is very precious?" Zhonyun said, "Luo, he is so outstanding. It is really not difficult at all to be tempted by him." At this point, everything that needs to be said has been said, and everything that needs to be added has been added. Zhonyun admitted that she broke up Nangang Luo and Gongqin Li out of revenge at first, but after getting together for a long time, she lost her sincerity. Looking back at what we did at the beginning and how we ended up now, it seems like a joke. When the joke ended, Zhonyun returned to her original position, even though her own mistake caused huge losses to the Zhon family. The Zhon family has declined now, and they no longer exist in the aristocratic circle of S city. They themselves really want to go in, but others no longer look down on them. Ah! Zhonyun sighed dejectedly, "I have said everything I need to say, believe it or not. Having said this, there is nothing else I don't believe." "Yeah, what else can't you believe? People in this world are just like this, selfish. It's like Guchensi and Nangang Luo are still brothers and friends, but in the end, they don't play with you in the applause with me. What do you want to say?" "I want to say, give you a wedding gift." Zhonyun handed her a USB flash drive. Gongqin Li has been thinking about what would be in this USB flash drive since she left Zhonyun's house. Midway, I was called back by Nangang Luo. It turned out that the wedding dress I had chosen before had been delivered to me in person. She hurried back. As soon as Nangang Luo saw her, he held her tightly and never let go. He pulled her to see the wedding dress, with a slow sense of anticipation from the outside to the inside. Nangang Luo is very picky, especially when it comes to choosing a wedding dress for her. There are more requirements than her. This time Gongqin Li let him choose, patiently trying to change one by one. During this process, she hesitated, and finally took Nangang Luo's hand and handed the USB flash drive to him. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1324. Chapter 1324. Mommy is about to give birth to a baby, Part 2. Nangang Luo saw the small thing thrust into his hand and asked doubtfully, "What is this?" Gongqin Li clicked his finger and said clearly, "Well, I haven't read what Zhonyun gave me yet." Nangang Luo weighed the small thing in his hand and suddenly felt its weight weighing heavily on his heart. Gongqin Li's approach was to take the initiative to be honest with him. They sat in front of the computer together and dug out the contents of the USB flash drive. They were several recordings. "Why did you come to me?" "Because we have the same purpose." You can still vaguely hear the voices of Guchensi and Zhonyun. It records several conversations between Zhonyun and Guchensi. At that time, Zhonyun was unwilling to exploit and destroy, and Guchensi also played an important role in it. Guchensi didn't seem to take too many actions, but his appearance and misleading words just happened to connect all the misunderstandings together, making them miss it. It's a pity that Gongqin Li is not a person who changes his mind when he sees different things. She is very persistent when she decides on something. Just like when she mistakenly believed that her affection for Guchensi was a liking for her, she persisted for several years. Because she had almost no contact with Guchensi in those years, she always maintained that illusion. Until she suddenly realized it later, she never thought about falling in love with someone else. I didn't expect Guchensi to have such a scheme. Gong Qinli was in a bad mood after listening to those recordings. She has always had a clear distinction between grudges, and knowing that Guchensi was causing trouble, her impression of him would of course plummet. If he were in front of me now, I would really want to chop him. So violent. This is not violence, cough. She is still a people's policeman, so doing this seems a bit violent. Gong Qinli pulled the USB drive and threw it aside. She reached out and hugged Nangong Luo's neck domineeringly, and whispered in his ear, "Never mind. In short, stay away from him in the future." Nangong Luo. Shouldn't he say this? Why does it seem like he has some involvement with Guchensi now? But, how could he refuse when his wife threw herself into her arms? Hooking the person tightly and stealing some fragrance. Obey, I dare not disobey my wife's orders. Hey, you sound like I'm forcing you. No, it's all of my own free will, voluntarily and forced. It's best to mix the sweetness with the sweetness when the love is so deep. The atmosphere kept heating up. Just when the two were about to have close contact, there was a knock on the door outside. Nangong Luo, who was disturbed, looked resentful. Gong Qinli kicked him away and said, "Open the door." Nangong Luo felt unhappy. He opened the door and took a look. There was no one there. Looking down, he saw that his precious daughter was tugging at the hem of his clothes and shaking him, "Daddy." With a soft shout, Nangong Luo instantly suppressed all his displeasure and changed his face instantly. He held his daughter up with both hands, and the baby looked like she was holding a treasure in his arms. Xiao Yue reached out and kissed him on the cheek, then hugged his neck and acted coquettishly. Gong Qinli had also packed up and came over, stretching out her hand, "Come here, mommy, give me a hug." Mommy doesn't hug cook. Why? Auntie said mommy is going to have a baby. Ah. Not only Gong Qinli, but also Nangong Luo was confused. Where does this sentence come from? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1325. Chapter 1325, Will there be a wedding in the future? The aunt Xiao Yue mentioned just now moved and appeared at the door, awkwardly waving to the two hosts. "Master, madam, I was joking with Miss Yue just now. This aunt is an old man from the Nangong family, and is now responsible for taking care of Xiao Yue. As someone who has experienced it, she understands the love between young men and women, so when Xiao Yue asked her just now, why are daddy and mommy locked in the room, she responded flexibly, because daddy and mommy are locked in the room, I'm going to have a baby. Would you like to give Miss Yue a little sister or brother? At that time, Xiao Yue's voice answered with two words, "I like it." As a result, she ran up and knocked on the door when she was not paying attention, and misinterpreted the words to mean mommy already has a baby. A big mistake was made because of the child. Gong Qinli and Nangong Luo were defeated by their daughter's naive logic, but they still had to patiently explain to her, who called her the little ancestor of the family. The carefully prepared wedding finally took place. The weather is good, we have chosen a sunny day, and the wedding will be held outdoors. I got up early in the morning and was busy, especially at night. I was running up and down today, hoping that my best friend could hold this wedding successfully. Why did a small pearl fall off the bride's earring? Get a spare one. Veil. Where's the ring box? Here it is. After a busy morning, the groom finally received the bride. Xiao Yue and Mrs. Nangong were sitting in the audience, and the two brothers Ye Qingfeng and Yezhiruo became the dazzling little flower girls in the audience. Gong Qinli walked up the red carpet arm in arm with her father. As her father-in-law, Mr. Gong almost lost his temper on the spot. When he handed his daughter's hand to another man, he solemnly told her, "You must be good to Liuli all your life." In spite of the busy work, the wedding went on smoothly. There were countless people coming to drink the wedding wine, and everyone had bright smiles on their faces to express their blessings. After exchanging engagement rings, the bride changed into a set of toasting clothes that are convenient for movement and toasted among the guests. After all, there are many people, and they all go through the motions with one small glass of wine at a time. When she had a little free time, Gongkinli couldn't help complaining, "It's so tiring to hold a wedding. I'll never do it again." "Thank you for your hard work, wife. If you don't want to do it, we won't do it from now on." Nangong Luo's first reaction was to coax her along with her words, but the more she talked about it, the more she felt something was wrong. Let's review what Gongkinli said. "I'll never do it again." What does it mean? No. Liuli, this is just a wedding in your life, and it is absolutely impossible for such words to appear again in the future. Nangong Luo solemnly declared to her. Oh, Gongkinli quickly covered her mouth and looked away guiltily. After a while, Nangong Luo was dragged over by several friends with whom he usually had good personal relationships to drink and bless him. Gongkinli took the opportunity to take some time off. Suddenly, a square gift box appeared in front of her. She lowered her eyes and saw the clean and shiny pair of leather shoes that appeared in his sight. Looking up again, Guchensi's ice face that had never melted for thousands of years was still cold. Gongkinli did not reach out to pick it up immediately. She asked, "What do you mean? Gift, don't you understand? I doubt whether you are really giving a gift or planning." Don't want. Don't want. Good. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1326. Chapter 1326. What is the gift from Guchensi? Good. Guchensi only said one word, then turned and walked forward. He stopped after walking no more than 2 or 3 meters and placed the gift box on the trash can next to him. Then he continued to walk forward, his back gradually moving away at a uniform speed, and he never looked back. This wave of operations was so unexpected that Gongkinli couldn't help but frown. After hesitating for a moment, she finally walked to the trash can and picked up the gift box on top. Couldn't help but open the box in advance, and she saw a small thing wrapped in layers. What is it? A mysterious feeling. She took the scissors and peeled them apart layer by layer, and a small round ball fell out and rolled to the ground. Gongkinli quickly bent down to pick it up. This familiar blue glass ball filled her with surprise. My glass ball. This glass ball belongs to her. She was depressed for a long time when she couldn't find it before, but she didn't expect that Guchensi would give it to her now. It couldn't be that Guchensi took away her glass ball before, right? Because Guchensi has a criminal record, she can't help but think of the worst. But she soon rejected the idea herself. Guchensi was so arrogant that even when he intervened in her relationship with Nangong Luo, he only used words and didn't bother to do it. Guchensi couldn't do such a thing as stealing the glass ball. Probably, she accidentally left it behind and it happened to fall into Guchensi's hands. Finally, Gongkinli picked up her cell phone and sent a very brief message to Guchensi, just 2 words, "Thank you." There was nothing more than thanking her, and she chose not to pursue the matter even for unclear reasons. Things of the past can only be passed away. After getting married, Gongkinli officially obtained the title of married woman. Now, Ye Weiwei, Gongkinli and Yuan Ran, 3 friends who have known each other for many years, all have a common topic. When they go out shopping, they will always talk about their families. After so many years, Yuan Ran's temperament is no longer as indifferent as before. Probably because she has such a wild husband like Kitano by her side, Yuan Ran is a little more smoky and gentle now than before. They live close to each other, and although they may not necessarily see each other often, they are in contact several times a week. No, I just happened to have an appointment to go shopping today. The season is about to change, so I need to buy some new things today. Yes, we should be ready. Women's desire to shop is very strong, especially when several people are together, they are addicted to watching everything. Fortunately, everyone is rich. After purchasing some things that everyone could use, Ye Weiwei and Gongkin Li were most concerned about their children. Ye Weiwei said, Fenger and Ruruo have recently been talking about how I want to buy them a new chess set. Gongkin Li also suddenly remembered, speaking of chess, I just heard you were talking about it yesterday. It seemed that a child accidentally lost it at school. Yeah, they obviously don't know how to play chess, but they like the chessboard and the chess pieces. It's hard for me to understand their hobbies. Gongkin Li touched her chin and thought carefully, do Fenger and Hiruo both like it? Then should I buy a pair for you or? Ye Weiwei shrugged, it's up to you. The conversation between the two was actually a very normal and ordinary exchange, but the unintentional words hurt Yuan Ran's heart. Other people's children are 4 or 5 years old, but she. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1327. Chapter 1327. Yuan Ran still can't get pregnant. The two mothers who were discussing suddenly became quiet. Although it is a threesome, they actually take care of everyone. Ye Weiwei and Gongkin Li walked on both sides of Yuan Ran, never letting her be alone. Even quickly changed the topic. Ye Weiwei mentioned, I suddenly remembered, did Kitano show off a pair of watches on WeChat Moments last night? When asked, Yuan Ran nodded, yes. Gongkin Li immediately took advantage of this topic, wow, that guy in your family is so handsome. Just post the picture on WeChat Moments, and talk about the love gift from my wife. I'm really tired of it. You said he is, isn't it too much for a man who is usually so wild to show off his affection in the circle of friends all day long? Being brainwashed by Gongkin Li's phone call, Yuan Ran instantly forgot about the unpleasant thoughts he had just because of the child. And he answered the question seriously, I have told him many times. Gongkin Li struck her palms with both hands and asked, but he just doesn't change, right? Well, he said that it is his free right to post any content on Moments. And Ran, you want to show your majesty, okay. Why? Protect your status as the head of the family, you must make him strictly follow your words. Follow what I say. Yes, it's the kind of effect where he doesn't object to anything you say. This is unlikely. Yuan Ran thought carefully about her and Kitano's status at home. It's difficult to change the things he decides. He is usually the one making the decision. It means you have no decision-making power at home. Yuan Ran thought for a while and shook his head. Gongkin Li suddenly became quiet. She probably needs to sort out her language. She has been out of the country for the past 4 years, and most of her knowledge of Yuan Ran and Bai Yes affairs comes from Bai Yes' circle of friends. As long as she opens it, she can see all kinds of displays of affection. I want to show off what gift I gave yesterday, I want to show off the meal I made today, and I want to show off where I am going to play tomorrow. In short, I want to show it off day by day, month by month, and every year. Having been showing for so long, there are a lot of tricks and the styles are getting fresher and fresher. But today I ask, do you have no right to decide? Yuan Ran has been independent since she was a child, and even more so when she grows up. No one would doubt Kitano's sincerity and love for her, but now she is told that she has no decision-making power at home. This is very confusing to Gongkin Li, because she is a person who wants to do whatever comes to her mind, and generally does not let others decide their own affairs. It shouldn't be, and Ran's character is so independent. Ye Wei endured it for a long time and finally smiled. You don't know this, my little life is very nourishing. Kitano arranges everything for her. That's why it's good. If you let Ran make the decision, I guess I just stay at home every day. She explained to B and asked Ran to say, Ran, tell Liuli what aspects be made for you. What's there to say? It's fun, share it and listen. Well, it's just like he found a good place, and he must drag me there whether I want it or not. Anything else? Also, I have to pay special attention when I go out with him, because if he takes another look at something, he may buy it home. It's so beautiful. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lou Kixie. Chapter 1328. Chapter 1328b, A Walking Show of Affection. This wave of affectionate display operation is really stable. I didn't realize that Ran turned out to be a soft girl. Ran was shocked when she heard Gongkin Lee's evaluation of herself. Me? A soft girl. Ahem, cough, yeah, I couldn't help laughing. Ran is cold on the surface, but soft at heart. Kitano is chauvinistic. He often directly makes decisions for Ran, but those decisions do not completely ignore Ran's thoughts. In fact, it is because Kitano knows Ran so well that he can grasp the standards and measures of forced decision to achieve the goal without making Ran feel disgusted. Shopping is a fascinating thing for women, because once weaker women go out to buy things, they won't feel tired even after walking for a whole day. Especially when you return home with a full load after shopping, joy dominates the scene. Ran returned home and did not see Beiya in the hall or room. Ordinarily, I should be at home at this time. She put down the things in her hands, looked around the house, and finally saw him lifting dumbbells to exercise in the back garden. Ran approached softly and there was no need to disturb her, but when she appeared around, B spotted her immediately. Ran. Well, I'm back. Hey, Kitano lifted the dumbbell up and then put it down. The sound when it hit the floor was loud. Ran looked at the dumbbell and then at him. Seeing that he was sweating profusely even though he was wearing a single coat, he hurriedly ran into the room to get a tissue and said, quickly wipe the sweat. Ran handed the tissue out, but B didn't reach out to take it, but just lowered his head. Ran immediately understood what he meant, and naturally wiped his forehead gently with the tissue in his hand to take away the sweat. Of course, what good things did you buy while shopping today? Beiya's eyes were full of expectation. In fact, what he wanted to know was not how many things Ran bought, but whether Ran bought anything for him. Having been married for many years, Ran could understand what Beiya meant by just looking at him. She slapped him on the forehead and stuffed the wet wipes into his palm. If you don't have a gift, wipe it yourself. Uncle Bei, who was disliked by his wife, expressed his inner resentment. Ran disliked his eyes and expressions the most, so she pretended for a while and then revealed the truth. Okay, put away that expression of yours. I bought something for you, I'll find out when I go out to see it later. Of course, let's go and take a look now. Why? B excitedly took her hand and walked to the hall, because he couldn't wait to know what good things Ran bought for him. Ran followed him and quickened his pace, feeling like he couldn't laugh or cry again. This B is really resolute, and he will do whatever he says immediately. Outside, he is so serious all day long that people dare not approach him casually, but in front of Ran, he seems to be the same carefree young man back then. Especially every time he asks her for a gift, his expression and eyes are like those of a boy who has not grown up. Where is the thing? On the table, find it yourself. Kitano can distinguish shopping bags based on experience when he looks at them, and he quickly found the bag containing men's items. When I opened it, it turned out to be pistol. Bei Xiao was successfully promoted to Beidei. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1329. Chapter 1329, Adopt a Child. Kitano saw a box from the shopping bag, and the box contained a pistol. Of course, it's a toy pistol. Of course, are you sure this is a gift for me? Although the packaging looks quite high-end, it is a toy after all, right? Normally, no matter what Yuan Ran gave him was priceless or ordinary, he would be happy to take pictures and post them on his WeChat moments to show off, but this toy pistol, he really couldn't accept it. Yuan Ran, who was walking slowly afterward, listened to his hesitant tone, looked at the thing in his hand, and suddenly said, "Sorry, I got the wrong one." Huh, Beiye was confused. Yuan Ran explained calmly, "This is the only one I bought for Feng-er. We helped each other carry the bags before, but we probably forgot when we left." In order to appease Uncle Bei, Yuan Ran personally found a gift for him. Is a scarf. The weather is getting colder and colder now. I saw this today and thought it was very suitable for you, so I couldn't help but buy it first. Kitano was so happy when he got the scarf that he put it around his neck. It was so hot that he couldn't bear to take it off. Yuan Ran wanted to take it off for him, but he avoided it and said plausibly, Ran Ran gave me something, but I can't bear to take it off so quickly. You are already very hot and you are wearing a scarf. Are you stupid? My pleasure. He took a selfie at that time and couldn't wait to show the picture to his circle of friends. But those with sharp eyes and tricky angles saw a children's toy placed in the upper right corner of this photo. The comments below are varied, and some people are teasing whether he has a son. Yuan Ran happened to be holding her mobile phone when she saw this comment. She sat there and refreshed it constantly, seeing that Kitano's replies to those people were different. Yuan Ran suddenly said, "B, it's not as good as us." Us. The last word was not heard clearly, and the word this time was a signal for her to continue speaking. Yuan Ran was hesitant and still hesitating. Beiye was the most impatient, so he urged, "Of course, if you have anything to say, just say it directly. Do you still need to be so tactful with me? Say it quickly." Yuan Ran closed her eyes for a moment and said what was in her heart neatly, "I want to say, why don't we adopt a child?" After saying that, she turned around and ran away. To be honest, when Yuan Ran said the sentence, he felt completely unsure. Because she is the one who cannot have children, she is the one who has never dared to bring up the topic of children, but now she is very selfish and cannot let Kitano be with other women. Even if she cannot give him children, she still has to stay with him for the rest of her life. Together. This is the path they themselves have already chosen. Soon, B chased him into the bedroom. Yuan Ran stood with her back to the door. Beiye approached step by step and stood 1 meter away from behind her. "Do you want a child?" "It's not a matter of whether I think about it or not." "Then why did you mention this suddenly?" "Today I was with Yuyi and Liuli. They were very considerate of my feelings and rarely mentioned the loss of their children, but I can still feel from their actions the difference between them and us, and that is the children." Yuan Ran said, "Only when children exist, can it be a complete family." "I disagree." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1330. Chapter 1330. Children are proof of love. Only when children exist can a family be complete. "I disagree." Beiye refused without hesitation. Yuan Ran did not expect that the suggestion he had the courage to put forward would be rejected by Kitano without hesitation. Suddenly I couldn't express my feelings. It's not that I'm angry or angry, I just don't understand and feel sorry. Yuan Ran asked, why? Don't you like children? Before Kitano could answer, she already had a perfect answer to deny the question. No, you are very happy every time you see Feng'er and Zhiruo, and you are even willing to put down your dignity to play with the children. You should like children, at least you will not reject them. Yuan Ran's analysis is very clear, and this is indeed the case. Kitano does not deny it, because he does not reject children, and even thinks they are cute. But he also had his own reasons and said confidently, I don't want irrelevant people to appear in our lives. Yuan Ran emphasized, if we adopt, the child belongs to us and is not an unrelated person. Be rejected it outright, they are just irrelevant people. I don't recognize anyone except the child you gave me. Perhaps the tone of the last sentence was a bit harsh, which made Yuan Ran frown. You know it's impossible, and I can't help you fulfill your wish. Ha B chuckled, and quickly changed his cold tone to a softer one. What he meant was, then let's keep the status quo. The world between two people is also very good, isn't it? Ran. Finally, Yuan Ran's name was called softly, leaving Yuan Ran unable to say anything to refute for a moment. Kitano is indeed right. Adopting a child is equivalent to letting a stranger enter their lives. After calming down, Yuan Ran thought about it carefully. She adopted the child not because she loved the child, but because she just wanted to experience a complete family. That would be unfair to everyone. This proposal was shelved for the time being, but once the idea had appeared in her mind, she would always think about it. Yuan Ran has already accepted her fate and knows for sure that she has no chance of getting pregnant in this life, but she can't let Kitano not experience the feeling of a loving father and a filial son, right? That's too cruel. Yuan Ran's thoughts were almost in chaos. Yuan Ran is a little confused. She specially returned to her parents' home to talk to MRSU. They, mother and daughter, were not close when they were young, because MRSU had very strict requirements on her, and she always thought that her mother was just trying to take advantage of her. It wasn't until what happened later that she truly realized the greatness of maternal love. Now her relationship with her mother is becoming more and more harmonious and intimate. Yuan Ran told MRSU about his recent troubles. That night, MRSU told her daughter some great truths. I have also seen over the years that Baya is sincere to you and does not care whether you can give him a son or a half. You said you wanted to adopt a child so that he could have a complete family, but you have to put yourself in his shoes and think about whether he is willing to form a so-called complete family with children in that way. A child is the product of two people who love each other, so only those who get married will expect children. And Ran, think about it for yourself. End of this chapter.